Both stages will continue to be topped off with propellant until about the T-minus 2-minute mark to keep temperatures as cold as possible. Again, weather is looking fantastic for tonight's liftoff. The vehicle and satellites in the fairing, they are remaining good as well. We are targeting an on-time liftoff just under 7.5 minutes from now. And as I mentioned earlier, today's mission marks the 4th official mission under SpaceX's SmallSat rideshare program this year, which gives small satellites flexible access to what is now the most flown operational rocket in the United States, the Falcon 9. Tonight, we're flying 48 Starlink satellites to make room for 2 Black Sky payloads from our customer's spaceflight. In an effort to help Black Sky rapidly expand its growing constellation of high revisit satellites, Spaceflight Incorporated is managing the launch of these 2 additional Black Sky high-resolution, multispectral Gen 2 satellites to low Earth orbit, expanding Black Sky's network in space and offering of real-time geospatial intelligence and monitoring services. Black Sky combines high-resolution images captured by its constellation of microsatellites with its proprietary artificial intelligence software to deliver analytics and insights to industries including transportation, infrastructure, land use, defense, supply chain management, and humanitarian aid. So far this year, we've launched over 200 rideshare payloads to orbit. And this includes the ones launched on the Transporter-1 mission in January, a previous Starlink launch in May, and the Transporter-2 mission in June. After this mission, our next rideshare mission is scheduled to launch at the beginning of next year, and that's going to be Transporter-3, which will be a dedicated rideshare launch to sun-synchronous orbit. As part of our SmallSat rideshare program, we offer 3 dedicated rideshare missions to sun-synchronous orbits per year, as well as launch opportunities on our Starlink missions like what you're seeing here today. So we are about 5.5 minutes from liftoff of our 18th Starlink launch of 2021, and the Falcon 9 is progressing into the final stages of the countdown. Next up, the truss structure next to the vehicle, known as the transporter erector, we also refer to it as the TE. It will begin to start to retract away from the Falcon 9 vehicle. In preparation for retracting, the TE clamp arms will open up, and then the transporter erector will begin to pull away from the rocket slightly to its pre-launch position about 2 degrees from the vehicle. Then at T0, hydraulics pull the TE even further away from Falcon 9 as it lifts off. The transporter erector is also the structure that provides liquids, gases, electrical connections to the second stage, as well as air conditioning to the payload fairing. And the vehicle is continuing to load propellant. Once we're fully topped off, we'll have over 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. On screen right now is a view of the fairing. Right beneath the fairing, those are the clamp arms that we are expecting to open up, and here they go. Once these clamp arms open up, we should start to see the truss structure begin to recline away from Falcon 9 in preparation for liftoff. So again, we are continuing to load propellant on both the stages. The first and second stages should finish loading propellant about a minute apart from one another. The first stage finishing up around the T-minus 3-minute mark, and the second stage finishing up around the T-minus 2-minute mark. At T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. And just inside T-minus 2 seconds, we light the Merlin 1D engines, and then we're set for liftoff. The Starlink payload and the Black Sky payloads inside the fairing continue to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues at this time. So we're starting to hear some hissing and popping. This is venting from our LOX lines as part of the transporter erector's job to continue to fill the vehicle with propellant. We can also start to see some white clouds forming around the Falcon 9. This will become more and more prominent as we get closer to T0. This is just that super cold liquid oxygen starting to densify and form those clouds that you start to see when it meets the warmer ambient air temperatures of Florida. So again, we have a pretty much perfect weather in Florida for today's liftoff attempt. This is a rideshare mission carrying 48 Starlink satellites as well as 2 Black Sky satellites enclosed in the fairing that you see on screen right now. Again, there goes those hissing and popping. That is normal and expected at this stage in the countdown. At this point, the propellant has been fully loaded on the vehicle, and we are just under a minute away. Both stages should be beginning to pressurize for liftoff. So we are 40 seconds away. Let's listen in to terminal count as we prepare for liftoff of the 48 Starlink satellites and the 2 Black Sky satellites.
T-minus 30 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds and counting. T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition, liftoff.
Nominal power and telemetry.
So we are about a minute into liftoff. Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. In just a few seconds here, we are expecting the call out for Max-Q. That is the period where the vehicle will experience the highest amount of aerodynamic pressures.
Max-Q.
And there was the call out. So now that we've gone past the period of highest stresses on the vehicle, we have 3 events happening in quick succession in about a minute. First, we have main engine cutoff, also referred to as MECO. Then stage separation, followed by second engine start 1, also known as SES1. Main engine cutoff is where all 9 Merlin engines on the first stage will shut down to slow the vehicle down in preparation for stage separation. During stage separation, the first and second stage will separate from one another. The first stage will make its way back to Earth for landing, while the second stage continues its journey with our satellites with the third event, which is second engine start 1. The single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will then ignite and continue to propel those Starlink satellites and Black Sky satellites into orbit.
Eco.
Stage separation confirmed.
And that's it.
So you can see on screen we had successful main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, and on the right-hand side of the screen, that is the single Merlin vacuum engine glowing red hot. On the left-hand side of the screen is a view of our first stage. I think we're getting some views of twilight right now as the sun has just set in the East Coast. In a few seconds, we are expecting fairing deploy, and that will expose the satellites to the vacuum of space.
Fairing separation confirmed.
We got the audio and video confirmation on the right-hand side of your screen. The fairing halves have deployed. We are going to attempt to recover those using our recovery vessel Bob later on in the mission. For now, the mission is going great. Again, the left-hand side is a view from the top of our first stage looking downward. You can see little plumes of gas coming out. That is nitrogen for our as part of our attitude control system to help orient the first stage booster properly as it makes its way back to attempt its 9th landing on our drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Right-hand side is a view of the second stage Merlin vacuum engine, the 48 Starlink satellites, and the 2 Black Sky satellites that we had mentioned earlier.
Acquisition
they are
signal,
on the
Bermuda.
opposite end of that engine. And so again, they are going to be in this burn for another couple of minutes as they continue to make their way to low Earth orbit. So in order to make its way back to the drone ship, the first stage needs to execute 2 burns. The first is an entry burn where 3 of the Merlin 1D engines will ignite. This helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. The second burn is the landing burn. This is a single engine burn, and this will bring the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on our drone ship.
Trajectory nominal.
That first burn, the entry burn, is expected to start around T plus 6 minutes and 22 seconds and last for about 20 seconds. For those that are just joining us, we are in the middle of SpaceX's 27th mission of 2021. Both stages have separated. We did have a successful liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40. Things are continuing to go well for tonight's mission. So we are about 20 seconds away from the beginning of that entry burn on the first stage. We do have camera views right now. It is a little dark, but as soon as that entry burn starts, we should see that first stage being lit up as it'll slow itself down before hitting the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
Stage 1, interburn startup.
Drone flight termination system is safed.
All right, 3 engines have relit on the first stage. If you're keeping track, at the bottom left-hand side of the screen, there is a speedometer of sorts that is tracking the velocity of the first stage. You can see that we're starting to reduce that
Stage 1,
velocity.
interburn shutdown.
If you keep an eye on that, as soon as the first stage hits the denser parts of the atmosphere, we'll continue to slow down its speed in preparation for the next burn, the landing burn. And that landing burn is expected to happen a few seconds after the T plus 8 minute mark.
Trajectory nominal.
The MVAC engine performance on the second stage continues to go well. A few seconds after we complete the landing burn, we are expecting to turn off this engine and enter a coast phase. And as a reminder, we will be
Stage one is
reigniting this
transonic.
engine about 50 minutes from now.
Stage one, landing burn.
So there's the call out. The landing burn has begun.
Terminal guidance.
In just a few seconds here, we're going to see if we can land this first stage booster for the 9th time.
Stage one, landing leg deploy.
You can hear the cheer and the applause, and there's the visual. This first stage booster has landed 9 times. This marks
Stage one
our
landing
89th overall successful recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage,
Cape.
and the 129th successful
Stage 2
flight
termination system
of
has
a
saved.
Falcon 9 first stage. So what we're waiting on now is confirmation of second engine cutoff, as well as
Non-orbit insertion.
confirmation of a good orbital insertion. As I was speaking, we did get that confirmation. So the second stage, with all of its satellites, are entering a coast phase for about 50 minutes. We're going to leave you with some space tunes, and we'll be back here at the T plus 59-minute mark.
Acquisition of signal, Newfoundland.